Yo, what's up guys, it's Matt. So in this video I want to do something that I don't know why I haven't done one of these yet. We're gonna do a tier list on the killers. Now I don't want to make this tier list the same as most other tier lists, because the parameters for most tier lists are how good is the killer base kit without any add-ons or anything like that. I don't agree with doing a tier list based off of that, because you're always going to be running add-ons even if they're just browns. So looking at a killer's base kit to determine how strong they are is very inaccurate, because a majority of killers that are quote-unquote bad will be amplified immensely through add-ons, and you're almost never going to play them without add-ons, so it doesn't really make sense to do that. So I want to look at the killers with add-ons, but add-ons that you can run consistently. So obviously, running double iridescent add-ons is probably unrealistic, because that'd be very costly to keep up with in terms of blood points. So we're basically going to look at each killer with their viable add-ons and determine how good they would be from there. Now to begin, we have Trapper. So I'm actually going to put Trapper into the B tier. Now I know a lot of people think he's the worst killer in the game, but add-ons can actually carry really hard, and I think it is a viable thing to run either Honing Stone or Tension Spring, which are two of his purples, and these actually make Trapper a really strong killer, because with Honing Stone, your traps actually do something that don't require you to interact with the survivor. So typically when a survivor gets trapped, you actually have to drop everything you're doing to go get them. But with Honing Stone, they can't save themselves, so they're pretty much just stuck there hostage until someone else comes to get them. So there's insane value if you do trap someone and there's no one nearby to get them. And then with Tension Spring, this resets the trap 2 seconds after someone escapes from it. Now I believe that also works both solo and if someone has someone to help them escape. So if you escape it by yourself, it should reset, and if someone saves you, it should reset, I believe. And then he also has other decent add-ons in his greens, such as the increasing time it takes to disarm bear traps. And then he also has, the obvious things like Bloody Coil and Iridescent Stone. Now, I don't think it's viable to run both every game, but since you're guaranteed, I think 1 or 2 Iridescence per Blood Web, I think it might be possible to run at least 1 every game if you wanted to. So because of this, and because you can probably consistently run his strong add-ons, I do think that the power of his add-ons, especially Bloody Coil, injuring survivors so they can't even touch the traps unless they want to take a health state, it bumps them up from being probably D tier all the way to B tier. So next we have the Wraith. I'm not going to think too much on Wraith. I think I already know where I want to put him. I think that Wraith goes into the B tier because his add-ons, I don't think he's an A tier killer. Yeah, I don't think he's an A tier killer because he doesn't have the ability to just full send chase a survivor and down them quickly. But he does have the ability to sneak up on people and get free hits, which can net you a lot of pressure, especially if you're running some sort of mangled add-on, because these days people like to heal with the boon circle healing and stuff. So if you're running mangled to make it take longer, then spreading pressure among everyone and making them waste time healing, it can be a very, very strong thing if you get the opportunity to do that. However, his chase potential I don't think is that strong, especially with the nerf on his speed boost, with that little rush that you get coming out of cloak. Since they nerfed that, I don't think he's as viable as he once was, because there's so many loots before where you could just uncloak and lunge around the entire loop and there wasn't much the survivor could do. But now that that's gone, I do think that he's still relatively strong. That's why I'm putting him in B tier. I just don't think he's A or S tier strong. He has very good map ability, very high movement speed, and then other than the ability to sneak up on people, he doesn't really have much else going for him. So we're gonna put him there. Now Hillbilly, I'm gonna put A tier. Hillbilly, he is hands down, he's the hardest killer in the game to learn. I know a lot of people think that Nurse is the hardest, but she's not. Nurse is actually relatively easy to learn, especially if you actually put in effort. But Hillbilly, the mastering curving the chainsaw, that is a very difficult thing to do. A majority of people who play Hillbilly don't even play him. They don't play him to his fullest potential, because all they will do is like use the chainsaw for mobility, or they'll go for back revs, but they don't really know about like curving or how to do it, because that initial turning in the beginning of the chainsaw can be very tricky to learn, and it makes people give up like really quickly just because of how difficult it can be. But if you do learn it, he becomes very, very strong. And like it's just the fact that you can instant down survivors at a lot of the basic loops is insane. And then on top of that, his insane mobility as well. And then if you look at his add-ons, typically I prefer to run double speed, but he also has other really good add-ons such as low pro chains. Matching this with speed is really good because it pretty much makes Hillbilly an unstoppable force, because at normal loops you can curve and get the instant down, but should they start chaining pallets with low pro chains, you get the hit anyways. Like, pallets are useless against a Hillbilly with low pro chains, so all you really have are windows. And if a Hillbilly really wanted to try hard, then I guess he could run like Bamboozle as one of his perks, and they shut down every window instantly. So then all the survivor can really do are slam pallets and make the chainsaw take 2 hits, because low pro chains only injures the survivor for 1 health state if you hit them within the first 5 seconds of the chainsaw run. So because of his add-ons, and you can run those pretty consistently as well, because of this, I do think he's A tier. He could honestly be S tier if they remove overheat, just because back in the day, before overheat was not in the game, you could literally hold your chainsaw, rev it, and bloodlust. Now that sounds ridiculous, but it was very, very strong, because you could essentially force the curve onto the survivor. So he could potentially be S tier if they do remove overheat, but for now I think that he belongs in A tier. Now you have Nurse. Obviously it's going to be S tier. She counters loops, counters windows, counters everything. Decent map ability, because I think she travels 20 meters, I believe. 20 meters in 2 seconds after a fully charged blink, which takes also 2 seconds. So 20 meters in 4 seconds. It might be 3 seconds. I don't think so. But essentially 20 meters in 4 seconds, and then you have the blink cooldown, which I believe is 1 second if you don't attack. So, and then 0.5 seconds extra per chain blink. So if you want, you could travel 32 meters with a Nurse, because the second blink caps out at 12 if you use it to its entirety. So with both blinks, you can travel 32 meters in like what, 5.5 seconds, with a cooldown of like 3 seconds. So very good map ability. And then of course, like, she's nasty. She doesn't need add-ons, but if you do run add-ons, you can run her third blink. That's busted. You can run range, and for the most part range, which is also nasty, because then that just increases your map ability, which is I think the more popular option, as well as the cooldown to get your blinks back. So for the most part though, she's fine without add-ons. You could honestly run no add-ons, just to flex if you wanted to, but the thing about killers is that they should need add-ons. You shouldn't really be running, like, if the killer doesn't need add-ons to play, I think the killer's too strong. So the fact that she doesn't need add-ons, it just says a lot about her in general. So she's S tier. Let's go on to the next. We have Michael Myers. Now a lot of people put him on the lower end of the tier list. That is because they look at him just base power. This is one of the reasons why I want to look at killers with add-ons, because Myers he's not a bottom tier killer. Nobody runs no add-ons on him. And a lot of people, like, when they do play him, they like to run the budget add-ons just because literally just because they don't want to run strong add-ons, because it's too strong. So like, it's okay to run low pro on Billy, or infantry belt, which is the +2 hatchets on Huntress. It's okay to run those purple add-ons, but should you run tombstone piece, that purple add-on, it's no longer okay. I disagree. I think it's perfectly fine if you want to run tombstone piece every game with like J. Myers Memorial, which is viable to do. You can also run infinite tier 3 almost every game. Like, you can run some sort of combo of either tombstone, increased stock speed, and or infinite tier 3, as well as just extending tier 3, extending like double the purple lock of hair, as well as the bow tie. I think is the green one. Just running double extension on the tier 3 is also very strong because it lasts really long. That instantly bumps him up to at least B tier. Like the increased lunge that you have in tier 3, so should you run infinite tier 3 or extending your tier 3, as well as the increased vault speed, it's too strong for like looping. So I know a lot of people like to put him lower, but I disagree. He could honestly even be A tier. Just because if you run a tombstone piece and you kill someone instantly, it's like, what are they gonna do? Like, think of a scenario where you 99 your tier 3 in the beginning of the game, right? You down someone just normal M1, and then you face camp them. If anyone even comes to check out to see if you're camping, maybe they don't know yet, maybe they haven't seen you, just to check up on the survivor to attempt to save before they realize, hey, he's getting face camped, I should go slam gens and get out, right? If they do that, then you just chase that guy and you kill him because you had your thing 99. So you just tombstone him and now he's dead. So now it's just a 2v1, and the last two survivors are not gonna slam the remaining generators in time for like before that guy on hook dies. So like you could play in a really scummy way basically if you wanted to guarantee like a win pretty much every game just by running tombstone piece. Unless the very first survivor juices the shit out of you, but if you're a decent killer, that just shouldn't happen. So arguably you could place him A tier just because of that. But I'm going to put him in B tier because I don't know how viable it would be to run Tombstone Piece every game. It might be viable just because you can switch between Tombstone Piece and the normal Iridescent Tombstone, because I'm sure you're getting at least one of those every game. And then of course there is the J. Myers Memorial and the Journal for increasing stock speed, which are both very strong as well. So like he could be either way with the add-ons. So I'm gonna put him B tier just because I don't know how realistic it is to spam those add-ons. No, Hag, I'm actually gonna put A tier. She's actually very strong. I don't know why she isn't played. I guess she requires too much work to make her A tier. A majority of Hag players you're gonna go against are going to be actually they're probably going to be A tier just because you barely see Hag, and the people that do play Hag are putting in the effort to actually make her really good. If you don't put in that effort, you're not you don't master the instant teleports and stuff like that, she can be really weak. Crouching, it counters her traps, but I don't think that's a strong counter because it's too slow unless you have urban evasion. And then I guess flashlights counter her as well, but again, like I don't think that's too much of a good counter. Now I've seen some Hags that run Franklin's Demise if they see flashlights, and then they'll literally troll the flashlight by trapping it. I think that can be pretty dirty, especially because like a lot of survivors are greedy and they want to get their flashlight back, so they'll literally die just to get it. But on top of that, her add-ons, she has very strong, cheap add-ons. The increased teleport range are very cheap. They're like green and yellow. And then you have Mint Rag and Rusty Shackles, which I'm sure you can run at least one of those every game if you wanted to. So Mint Rag lets you choose to teleport. You can look at the trap and teleport to it instantly with I think a cooldown of 15 seconds. And then Rusty Shackles is the one where you don't get notified that the trap is even triggered. So you can hide traps really well with that one. And it actually makes instant teleporting better because you don't have to wait for the Hag to shoot up out of the ground like she normally does during the teleport animation. With Rusty Shackles, it's actually just an instant teleport, and that makes the instant smack on the survivor even stronger. So like if you're able to run Rusty Shackles every game, which I know that there are killers, like for example Ralph, who's a Huntress main, who runs Infantry Belt, a purple Huntress add-on every single game. So it is possible to run one specific purple add-on every single game if you wanted to. So I do think that this is a viable thing to do. If you really want to run Rusty Shackles every game, you probably can. So because of that, I think she's actually a very strong killer, just very slept on because people don't want to put in the effort to actually get good at her. Now we have Doctor. Doctor, I think I might throw him. He could be maybe A tier in the right hands, but then again, he's not that strong. The ability to prevent the pallet drops, tier 3. Let's just say this real quick. Tier 3 is absolutely overpowered. Maybe not overpowered. Maybe not absolutely overpowered, but it's a very strong thing to do. putting someone in tier 3 and just making them waste time, and then how frequent you can put them in tier 3. He's so annoying to go against. I hate having to snap out of it constantly. So he applies good map pressure. You can't hide from him, which is another thing that's also really good, is the fact that you just can't hide from him. Maybe he does belong in A tier, just because in the right hand, I think that you can, like, pretty much if you're chasing a survivor, that survivor is going to go down. It's more like how long does it take for you to get into position to get the best shock to actually catch the survivor, because it does take a couple shocks in a couple loops. You do have to loop the survivor a couple times around the pallet, so it does take a while, and you can counter him very easily by holding W. Like, if you just go next loop, if you pre-drop pallets and go next loop, he becomes really weak. So counterplay against him is very, like, easy, especially for like new survivors. I think against Doctor, like, maybe not like brand new, but like, you know, if you're not that good at survivor and you're just slamming pallets, you probably counter him very easily. I'm actually gonna put him in D tier or B tier, because yeah, thinking about it, like, while theoretically he could be better, I think he's just not that good. Now Huntress, I'm gonna throw in A tier. I think that she could be S tier if you have a very high hit rate on your hatchets, if you don't miss that much. But I mean, even I've seen a lot of like the really good Huntresses and stuff, and they do miss a lot of shots. You know, they run by this basically, to be good at Huntress, you have the you miss every shot, you don't tank mentality. So they take a lot of shots that are risky, and they do hit a lot of these shots just because of practice, but they do miss a majority of them. So because of that, it does slow down the game quite a bit for the killer player, because you have to reload more often when you're throwing hatches like that. And then if you play safe, chases take too long. So when you do play safe, you do guarantee the down pretty quickly. When you take the risky shots, you have the ability to end the chase like pretty much instantly, which is why I think that she's A tier, potentially S tier. Like, I'm not gonna put her there because not that many people are that good at her or good enough to make her S tier, but she's definitely up there. Bubba, I'm gonna put B tier. I'm putting this here because he has the ability to basically force a tile to end. If once he revs his chainsaw, you have to drop the pallet. If you try to loop, unless the killer's bad, but I mean, an experienced Bubba player will not bump ever. So like, you're pretty much forced to drop the pallet and go to the next pallet. And because of this, he can make you drop. He can get rid of the pallets on the map very quickly, and then when he does down you, his camping potential is so strong, like to the point where it's literally unfair to camp as Bubba, which is why it's like a shitty thing. But very strong, so he does not belong in like C or D tier. Freddy, I'm going to put him in B tier as well. I think his puddles are strong, and then he has the ability to teleport. Now the nerf they did was on his add-ons, and they nerfed his power for like no reason. It was really just the add-ons that was the problem. But the power, all they did was reduce the amount of stuff you have from 10 to 7, which doesn't really change much about him. You can still play him, and he's similar to Clown in a way where like you just place your puddles down, and then you cause him to be hindered, which lets you end the chase at each tile really quickly as well. And then he also has the ability to like put a puddle at a window and prevent any fast fall on that window. And because of that, his chase at Shack is actually really good, because they typically do have to drop the pallet one loop on Shack sooner, just because they cannot fast fall out the window if you're consistently placing the puddle at the window. So he does shut down strong tiles, and then he has good map ability, but I don't think that he's bad enough to be thrown into C tier, although he's definitely lurking there. If they nerf him one more time, I think he is going to be in the C tier. Pig, I'm going to put C tier. I don't think this pig is strong at all. Her dash is borderline useless, because once you see a pig crouch at a pallet, all you have to do is run as far away from the pig as possible. They cannot get a dash off. So the dash thing at the pallets doesn't work unless the survivor is stupid enough to stay at the pallet. But you pretty much just run away and then let the killer miss, and then they go into that like longer hit cooldown because it's a dash. That's not that strong. Helmets aren't that strong either. Like, yeah, they're good game delay, but because her chases are not quick enough, it makes her really bad. Now, the ability to drop your terrorities is pretty good, especially when on indoor maps. Like, Pig on indoor maps, I think is like, she's A tier on an indoor map, but it's not like you can really play indoor maps and you can't think of it that way. Like, hey, how good is this killer on this map specifically? That'd be kind of weird to make a tier list like that. I guess putting the Pig in the strongest scenario possible, yeah, that'd make her something like BA tier, but that'd be the same for like any killer, I feel like. And plus, when she is crouched, she moves slower than survivors. I don't think she catches up, so it's not really something that you want to do in terms of like patrolling a map, but it is strong if you're running like a really good build for it. I know that like some Pig mains will run monitor and abuse with whispers. That way they know when to crouch and they can get a lot of free hits by sneaking up on the survivor. But regardless, I don't think Pig is that strong. If they buff, like if they can just extend the dash to where like survivors can't just run away, maybe that'd make her really strong, but that would also make her not fun to play against. So I don't know if that's something they would ever do. She definitely needs a buff. The buff they did was pretty good. They made her add-on strong, and I guess that the AFK Pig thing is kind of stupid and broken, but it's not that bad. Like for the most part, usually only one person dies, and even then, again, that's not really showing her strengths. That's just kind of being stupid. Clown, I'm gonna put B tier. He's kind of similar with Freddy, with his bottles and the puddles, where he can prevent fast vaults and stuff like that. And the bottles are honestly insane. Just throwing at them, you can catch up so quick, because if you didn't know, I think it's a minus 30% speed decrease for survivors when they're hindered, so that makes them run at 70% speed, so you catch up so quickly. And then he also has his yellow bottles, which are really good for traversing the map. I know a lot of players don't know how to use them. I think I will make a 5-minute Clown guide soon, because I actually really do like Clown. I think he's a lot stronger than people think. With the best add-ons, you could maybe throw him in A tier, just because running Pinky's Finger, the instant down bottle, with the 2 extra bottles can be very strong, because you still have like basically base kit Clown, but with an instant down. And if a killer can instant down like that, and with a lot of ease, because he can force to catch up to you, just basically like be touching you and then hit you with an exposed bottle and then instant down you. You basically, he has 3 bottles to use to make you slow so he can catch up, and then he can instant down you. That's really stupid that that's even in the game, but it is in the game. So it does, theoretically you could put him A tier just because of that, but I'm not going to, because I don't think that you can run that consistently, because running one specific iridescent out of many is, or out of like 2, right? He has 2. So running one specific iridescent out of 2 is not very realistic, but I'm sure that you could pull it off probably. He does have other strong add-ons that are purple, such as the one that lets you see through walls if you stand in your gas. So like you can pretty much win any mind game at a tile that the survivor cannot see you. So it's basically like a guaranteed like win on the mind game. So he is strong, I guess, in that regards. Like if you run more add-ons, maybe you could argue that he could be A tier, given that he'd have, I think, with the right add-ons and the right person playing with the right perks, you could probably compare him to like Hag or Huntress in the way of how quickly he can get downs and stuff. But again, like healing against Clown is a very strong thing to do, because forcing him to just chase you longer is basically his counterplay. So like if you go against Clown, you want to stay healed. It's like pretty much the main goal of beating him, which makes games longer, but it's pretty, it's how you counter Clown. Now, Spirit, I'm gonna put B tier. I know a lot of people might be mad that I'm not putting her in A tier, because when she got nerfed, everyone's like saying, "Oh, she's still good. She's still good. You can still play Spirit." Yeah, I disagree. If she was still good, people would play her just as much as they did before. But ever since she got nerfed, I barely see Spirits anymore. I don't think she's that good. When I do play against Spirit, the directional phasing helps a lot. Like it's not the same as it used to be, because you just know, like, if you're camping a pallet and you're trying to see like which side she's phasing to, you can tell. Like it's not the same. She's just not as strong. I would put her A tier. Like pre-nerf, she'd be A tier, maybe even S tier. But because of the nerf, I think she's like just not that good. Maybe she even deserves C tier, to be honest. I know that may sound stupid, but running Iron Will is already a strong enough counter. And then the nerf on her phasing too, because it's directional, right? When she's phasing trying to find you, you can hear where she is, and then you can literally change the direction in which you're walking. Before, you couldn't do that because you didn't know where she was, so like you choose a distance or a direction and guess when you're walking. So when she's phasing and she's trying to find you, like you really had no idea if she's like, you know, getting warmer or colder. But now, like literally, like you just know where she is and that sucks. So arguably you could put her C tier if we're talking like a good Spirit against a good Survivor. Legion, I don't know where I want to put him because they are buffing him. With the buff, honestly, I was playing PTB. I don't think he's that strong even with the buff. He still feels just as shitty as before, because the power, while you can down people after 5 hits, getting 5 hits is not that realistic, and he still feels just as bad because you still have to down them with like normal M1. So he's still reduced the down to like getting a free hit to get a free injure state and then just chasing the survivor normally. And because of that, I think I'm gonna put him C tier, just because a majority of the downs you have to get are going to be just like normal chases, and normal chases is how you make a survivor very strong. Same with like Pig, you can loop her normally, so that's how you make like any sort of thing where you cannot counter loops, or you don't have a good counter to loops, it makes survivors stronger. And when you're strengthening survivors like that and letting them show you how good they really are, because like a lot of these killers, you can't really tell how good a survivor is against killer in general. Like for example, if you're going against like a Huntress, you can't really tell how good that survivor is at looping an M1 killer because you're throwing hatchets, you know? Same thing with like Billy, you're curving. With Nurse, you're blinking, you're teleporting. Trapper, you can shut down loops. Same thing with like Myers, the faster vault and stuff, the longer lunge. Like all these killers that are in B tier, they can shut down loops. These killers in C tier literally can't. So you can, like, if you want to see how strong and how good at looping the average survivor actually is, playing Legion or Pig will show you that. Because I feel whenever I play Legion or Pig, a lot of the time I feel really defenseless. And it's a really shitty feeling, because the best way to play them is to like break chase a lot and go for more free hits if you can get them by patrolling generators and stuff. But keeping everyone injured, I do think, is a pretty strong thing. It's just not that good when everyone runs dead hard. So now we have Plague. I'm gonna put Plague in A tier. I know that might not be a popular opinion. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. A lot of people, I'm sure, would put her B tier. But I do think that she's strong because her power is like a choose your poison type of thing. Do you want to play the entire game one hit, or do you want her to give her a machine gun ranged weapon? And because of this, she's just very strong in general, because now she has to put half the effort into chasing survivors if they choose not to cleanse, because they're going to be injured. And if, especially, like, a thing is that I feel like is underrated is that when you do keep survivors injured and they're at like a compromised position, like if they're trying to do a generator where they already dropped the pallet near it, it just makes them really weak. So they, like, if they're injured, they can't do that gen without having sprint burst or dead hard to get them away from that generator, because it's pretty much just a free hit. So I feel like that does go overlooked when considering how strong a killer is, because that putting them in that position is a very frequent thing that does get you a lot of downs quickly. So because of this, sometimes like it'll just be a free down, and then her ranged weapon is also just it's OP, because like dodging it can be very troublesome. Well, obviously it's possible, but the main strat against a plague that has her buffed vomit is to keep distance. Like, you really are just doing the whole W strat, and this doesn't always work when when it's like towards mid or late game and the resources on part of the map are already gone, because then like when you hold W, it's like, where do you go now? So then she just catches you and there's like nothing for you to play around. So her ranged weapon is really good. Just when they are looping you, you can do everything like a Huntress can do, and then when they're running away, like late game, it's not that good. Ghostface, he's D tier. This might piss people off. I think he's the worst killer in the game, because unlike Legion, where you just get a free injure state, like if as soon as you know it's a Ghostface, you just look out for him, and then for the most part, he's so easy to reveal, and he has to basically hit you twice, just M1. He has pretty much nothing going for him. And just like Legion and Pig, where you're forced to chase them with M1, you're strengthening the survivors, but like you have to do it twice. Unlike Legion, where you can do it once, you have to do it twice, and then he has no slowdown like Pig. He doesn't have free slowdown like Pig, while she has to do it twice as well, hit them twice, basically letting the survivors power trip on you. She at least has a slowdown to count and make up for it. With Ghostface, there is no slowdown, so unless you get an exposed and an insta down, which alert survivors you won't really get, which is why he's not even, like, you never see him played in a tournament. I've seen Wraith played in tournaments, like, and Wraith isn't that good, but I've seen it happen. Darva actually played Wraith in a tournament and won against basically one of the best teams. He made the top 3 finalists in Hexy's best of the best tournament he played Wraith one game. So, like, you know, killers like that, like, obviously other stealth killers that can get free hits, so you can argue, hey, Ghostface can do somewhat the same thing like Wraith. Not really, because Wraith has speed, and then Wraith also has good add-ons, like the one that let him see through walls and stuff. Ghostface doesn't have any good add-on. His add-ons are trash. The buffed add-ons are also trash, so Ghostface is just bad. Like, the new add-ons that they're adding for Ghostface, they're nice. They're like quality of life changes that Ghostface should have base kit. So basically, things that would make Ghostface B tier, you have to run in form of an add-on, and then you can't really make Ghostface that strong by adding more add-ons, because like you're too busy running these stupid quality of life add-ons, and then there's no OP add-on for Ghostface, so he's just trash all around, and like, he's fucking terrible. Demogorgon, I'm gonna put B tier. He has portals that either give you a good map ability or makes the survivors waste time. So if they don't want you being able to teleport, they have to get off a gen and cleanse these portals. So that's just like a win-win no matter what. I guess you do have to go through the hassle of having to teleport through the portals, like place them and teleport through them. But if you're just playing the game and you put them down passively, it becomes something very strong, and especially when you put it out of the way. Like, I know some Demogorgons make the mistake of putting the portals next to a generator, but when you put them relatively away from a generator but nearby, it's too much of a hassle for a survivor to run up to that portal and cleanse it. So that's the proper way to play Demogorgon's portals when you're placing them, is make them inconvenient to cleanse. And then his shred is actually really, really good. I actually really love playing Demogorgon. I mained Demogorgon for a little bit just because he, like, the shred is so fun, dude. Just lunging at survivors like that. And on top of that, he's a good boy. So he's we're gonna put him B tier. Oni is A tier. He would be S tier if it wasn't so hard to get his power. But now in normal lobbies, public matches, right? Not like pro lobbies or whatever. We're going against tryhard survivors that know how to counter Oni perfectly. Because the way to counter Oni is just to pre-drop every pallet and don't let him hit you early on. And when he finally does get a hit, if you delay him long enough, when he finally does get a hit, it's going to be too late because he'll get his power, but like a majority of the gens will already be complete. So that's the proper way to counter Oni. But in normal games, he's honestly, I'd put him S tier if we're only considering public matches, not against 4-man server friends that knows how to play against Oni perfectly. Because I'd put him S tier because it's so easy to get the initial first hit, and then once you get the power going, if you master his power, he is nasty. So I'm gonna actually put him in S tier just because of that. The majority of the time you don't get these 4-man swifts, and the majority of 4-man swifts don't know how to counter him properly. So just because of this, I am going to put him S tier, but he would be A tier if you're going against a team that knows how to play against him. But for the most part, it's not hard to get your power as Oni, so we're gonna put him S tier just because, like, it's like a hillbilly in a way, but nastier. Because like you can literally, like, if you don't know, when you flick as Oni, a majority of the time, a lot of you might only do like a 90-degree flick, but you can actually flick an entire 360 degrees. You have to do it within like 1 frame, I think, and you have to like look up and do this weird tech thing, or tech is what they call it, but I mean, hey, you can argue it's exploiting. But an Oni flick can go a full 360 degrees, so pretty much all you have to do is run up to them with the power, and then it's basically a guaranteed down if you know what you're doing. And definitely I'm gonna throw in B tier. I want to throw him in C tier just because I hate him, but that's not true. He is actually pretty good, but he's everything Huntress has but worse. He doesn't have the range of Huntress, he doesn't have the fun of Huntress, he doesn't have, yeah, he's like Huntress but worse, so we're gonna throw him there. He has to reload after every shot, and the reloading can be inconvenient. And then on top of that, if they're injured, you have to be in a position where you can M1 them after you spear them. So because of that, he's like worse than Huntress. The only good thing about him is, I guess, the iron sight, because like Huntress, you don't have an iron sight or like a crosshair, but you could just turn on a crosshair. And also, it's not hard to estimate the middle of your screen, so it's not like Huntress is not that bad without a crosshair. But Deathslinger is just Huntress but worse, so we're gonna throw him down here. Pyramid Head, I'm actually gonna put him A tier. Pyramid Head is a very unique killer that I feel like is also slept on. He can counter pallets just the same way like a Huntress can, by using his, what is it, the flick. I call it flick. I forget what it's called. I think it's called the Punishment of the Damned. Yeah, he can use the Punishment of the Damned to injure people at windows or pallets, basically. Much like a Huntress can animation lock you with a hatchet, he can do the same thing with his power, which also makes him strong. And then when the server's looping you, you can basically force them to torment by just putting the trail in the way of the pallet or window. So you can force the torment, and because of this, he has a very strong tunneling ability, where if you have them tormented, all you have to do is hook them on their first hook while they're tormented, and then you can pretty much tunnel them out of the game from there if you wanted to. Because once you hook them, you can cage them the next time, so they don't have D-Strike, right? They can't use the D-Strike. And then when they get saved from the cage, because it's a cage, not a hook, D-Strike doesn't activate again, so you can straight up just tunnel them again and instant kill them, which is fucked and really bad to go, like, really, it's a really dick thing to do, but very strong. Also, his power is just like also pretty good for patrolling generators, because you can, if you have range add-ons, you can patrol generators from a good distance away by flicking at it. Overall, he's a very unique killer, and I think he's really strong, just slept on, so that's why I put him in A tier. Blight I'm gonna put in S tier for obvious reasons. If you know how to exploit Blight properly with like hug text and stuff, he's pretty much impossible to counter, because the only counter you have are pallets, and you get to slam the pallet. You pretty much have to pre-jump every pallet, because if you let the Blight get into position where he's the one next to the pallet, standing next to the pallet, you're pretty much going to get hit. He's just gonna stand there, wait for his tokens to come back if he doesn't have them, and then he's gonna do the rush bullshit and down you. So the best way to loop a Blight is with windows and slamming pallets as soon as you can. And because this, and then on top of that, he's really good map ability. His add-ons are OP. Like, he doesn't have a single bad add-on except for the brown ones. Like, if you don't know what add-on to run as Blight, just run any of them, and it's not going to be a mistake. And then when you do run his good add-ons, they're absolutely broken. Alchemist Ring is broken, the Instant Down is broken, Compound 33 is broken, Compound 20 whatever, the green one, is broken. Like, he's just a busted fucking killer. And much like Nurse, like I said before, if you can play a killer without add-ons and have them be like still pretty good, something is wrong with the killer itself, not necessarily the add-ons. So that's why I put him there. Twins, I'm going to put A tier. I don't know why people like to shit on Twins. Like, I got a lot of comments on my top 5 console killer videos where I use twins. I put them, I think, number 2. And people hate that. I don't know why. Like, dude, twins are OP, dude. Like, you can be in 2 places at once. You can camp like a beast. Like, they're one of the best campers in the game. I'm gonna say Bubba's the best camper in the game just because, like, you can physically prevent the save. But next up, you have like twins, because twins can literally phase camp while also patrolling generators, and that's like a really shitty thing to do if you didn't know. If you put Victor next to the hook before you hook the survivor, you basically have a radar that's going to face camp the survivor and let you know when someone else is coming, and then you can just switch to Victor and like injure them. You can attack them, and if they're injured, then you can down them. If they're not injured, then you pretty much force them to take an extra health state in order to save. So they basically have to trade a health state for a save. It also lets you just know when to start heading back towards the hook if you do want to tunnel somebody. So because of this, I think he is A tier. They have this really strong camping ability, and then their snowball potential is also insane. If you run anything that makes survivors broken, like force penance or stuff like that, or mangled, and you keep them injured, like anything that keeps them injured makes them even stronger, because like if Victor does not have to latch on, he can just down you. He can snowball the game really quickly because like he moves so fast. His pounce is annoying to dodge. It's hard to dodge. The hitbox on the pounce is massive. It's the same as Demogorgon's shred hitbox, except he's like a little projectile, so it makes it it's like really weird for survivors to dodge. Mobility patrolling is insane. Like you can have like a 3-gen, right, and have it be pretty spread out, not even close together, but because you can be in 2 places at once, you can literally just like, if you have 2 gens close together and then 1 far away, you can like, that's still a viable thing to patrol because you can be in 2 places at once. So that's why I'm putting them in A tier. I do think they're actually really strong, underrated. Person in my comment was like, no, if they run 4 unbreakable soul guards, yeah, no, that never happens. Nobody runs unbreakable soul guard. Like, you see it, like if you play like 100 hours of killer, you'll maybe see that combo like once or twice. That like people actually running perks that counter twins as well is very rare, because you rarely see twins. So if you want a power trip, play twins in camp, because nobody's gonna run perks that counter you, and it's just gonna be very unfair. The punishment for missing as twins is 6 seconds. 6 seconds, you lose your very OP power, which is Victor, and then 6 seconds later you get it back. It's such a shitty thing, dude. I know a lot of people do complain about it. They complain about like being in chase with Victor, but unless the team is super coordinated, and even when they are super coordinated, twins still can like shred, which is why they're like a top pick for tournaments. Which I feel like is another thing people don't consider, is that like the guy in my comment section said that in tournaments there are rules, but at the same time, like, yeah, there are rules that make twins more viable, but at the same time, it's still a team with the best coordination, something that you will not get in every single game, which just makes them even stronger. The fact that they can do that well against the team with the best coordination, because like perks shouldn't matter really against twins, but it's really the team coordination to beat twins, and when they don't have that, you can pretty much win almost every game. So I do think that like everything in A tier right here that you see so far has potential to pretty much have like a 90% kill rate or higher in normal public games, which is why like these killers are all placed there A and S tier right now. If you play these killers and you master them, I think that you can pretty much win almost every game. Trickster, I'm gonna put him in B tier. Similar to like Deathslinger, he's everything Huntress has, but minus the fun. You can't really, I guess technically you could do cross maps with Trickster, but you have to like stand really high, and there's not that many things because there's no arc on the blades. There's drop, but like it's not it doesn't arc like a Huntress hatchet does, so you can't really go for cross maps. You can throw through holes, you can spam, you can do all that. It requires less skill to play Trickster, and then at the same time he's not that good, and it's very easy to make him waste blades as well as make him reload, because it's, what is it, 12 blades to down somebody? I don't think he's that good, so I'm just gonna put him in B tier. Nemesis, I'm gonna put him in B tier. but I do feel like he does have potential to be an A tier. If the zombies were not, that didn't bug out frequently, maybe he can be an A tier. Also, because of the nerf that they have on Marvin's Blood, it's harder to get to tier 3. There's a point in time, like, he pub stomps regular lobbies. He definitely pub stomps regular lobbies. Like, a lot of these killers in B tier will pub stomp a regular lobby. But as soon as you get like a 2-3 stacks of every friend group, add-ons can't really save you. And they're just not that good. I don't think that these killers are at the same potential as the killers I have in A tier right now. So I'm gonna put him there because, like, while his whip can be similar, like he can animation lock you like an executioner or what's his name, Pyramid Head. He can do the same kind of thing with his whip, as well as breaking the pallet. So I guess like he does pump out loops very easily, but his tunnel potential isn't as high as Pyramid Head's. And then on top of that, his patrolling, he doesn't really have any sort of map ability. You just kind of have to hope that your zombies do something intelligent. Because of that, I put him down there. Pinhead, I think he's A tier. If you learn if you master finding the box, and you also master like chaining survivors mid chase, then he's pretty much everything like a Clown or Freddy will have, except they can't fast vault pallets. Unlike with like Clown or Freddy, they can still fast vault the pallets, but it basically forces them to walk, and that is, I think that's OP. And then chain hunts are OP if you can keep the chain hunt going. Like if you know how to find the box, or you run the build where you target the survivor that picks up the box with like the hoarder, so you know when and where they pick it up, and you just keep going for the box and you keep the chain hunt going, he becomes a very, very, very strong killer. Because if someone's like, unlike most killers where they have power that may need you to get off of generators, let's say like Legion, you need to mend, or Pig, you need to remove your helmet. If there's a chain hunt going, it slows down the generator so much because it takes so long to break the chains, and the chains are very frequent. And because of this, I think he's A tier, just because you can't do anything during a chain hunt. You need to go for the box. And while someone's going for the box, the other two people pretty much can't heal, because healing's too hard, it takes too long, and then the gens also take too long. You can't really like there's like no counterplay when a chain hunt's going where two people are distracted and the other two people can barely make any progress towards the objective. That's why he's strong. Artist, I'm also gonna put in A tier. Now this might not be a popular opinion. I feel like a lot of people don't know how strong Artist can actually be. She's the only killer in the game, or I shouldn't say the only, because much like Pinhead, she can pressure other survivors while she's chasing one survivor. Like if you're using your birds to patrol gens at the same time shutting down a loop, because you can do that if you use your birds properly, you can shut down loops very easily, zone survivors very easily, as well as patrolling gens very easily across the map. And then once you get birds on the survivor that's like on a generator, they either have to get off immediately and scare away the crows, or they give you a free health state, like they have to dodge the next swarm. And it's kind of hit or miss, because you can mind game that stuff too. Like if you think people are dodging, like you can like aim a little bit away from the gen and still get them. So she's one of the very few killers that have that kind of potential. I feel like a lot of people haven't seen a good Artist. Like if you've seen good Artist gameplay, like I honestly suggest looking up some Artist tournament matches, because if you see good Artist gameplay, you will probably change your mind. If you don't think she's A tier, you might change your mind on that if you see like top tier Artist gameplay. Sodaco, she's gonna go in D tier. She's trash. I fucking hate playing her. When I was playing her to get adept, it was nothing but miserable. She's just like Ghostface, where her power doesn't do anything. I guess she does have ability with the teleports, so maybe she doesn't belong. She belongs in between D and A tier. Let me add another thing. How do I add one? Can I add one? Add row above. Okay, we're gonna make this not Ghostface. So we're gonna put her in this, like she's still D tier, but we're gonna put her in this tier just because she's not Ghostface, and Ghostface is terrible. So We're putting her just because like she's fucking terrible. The undetectable thing that she can do is trash. I feel like when she first came out, people were trying to make light of her. They were talking about the passive phasing she has can be strong or whatever, but like when I played her, it felt miserable. Whenever I play against her, she gets shit on. I'll play solo queue, and I could solo queue and play against this killer all day, because that's how easy she is to loop. That's how easy she is to get free escapes. She's so fucking bad, just like Ghostface. She's so fucking bad. It's just she's not Ghostface, so we're gonna put her just a little bit above, but she's like a D.5. I wouldn't even call her C.5. It's more like D.5. She's in between D and C, but I don't think she belongs next to Legion. Putting her in C tier would just disrespect Legion and Pig. But putting her next to Ghostface would also make Ghostface... It'll give Ghostface too much credit, so I'm gonna put it here. So yeah, that's my opinion on the killers. This is my tier list. If you don't like it, ho's mad, stay bad. I think you're stupid, because a lot of you probably don't have that much... They probably don't have as much killer experience. Not to sound like... Not to have like a god complex, like, hey, I have fucking... a loser amount of hours on this game, so I know better, whatever. I don't like, not to say that, it's just a lot of people when I say Billy's A tier, people get surprised, like, what the fuck you talking about? Like, I do comment on my video, top 5 console killers. He was surprised that I put Billy at number 1. Like, dude, hello? Like, do you even know what a good Billy looks like? A lot of people, like, I feel like a lot of people just don't know that a lot of these killers are stronger than they are, because when you go against them in game, a majority of the time it's the player that's bad, not the killer. So if you are a killer main and you do understand the strengths that these killers have, I'm sure that you agree with me on a lot of these, but I'm sure that you can differ. Let me know in the comments below what you think. If what you think maybe I got wrong, maybe you think Doctor should be higher, I don't know, maybe not. Maybe you think he should be lower. Maybe you think... I mean, honestly, Doctor's trash. He's the only killer I have in Prestige 3. Because, like, fuck Doctor. I'm never gonna play him. So maybe I don't have a right to an opinion on Doctor, but... I'm showing him a little more respect because I know that he's not as bad as Ghostface. So let me know in the comments what you think, what you disagree with, what you agree with. This is my tier list. This is including add-ons. So... a lot of these killers just don't have good add-ons. Anyways, yeah. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Bye.